الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله صلوات الله وسلام عليه هيا على الصلاة هيا على الصلاة هيا على الفلاح هيا على الفلاح هيا على خير العمل هيا على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله
محمد وآل محمد صلوات
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين اللهم صل على أما بعد السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. One of the greatest blessings, or indeed blessings are one of those things that from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are given to us as something that should add value to our lives. But at the same time, it can be a double-edged sword. Through our ghafla, through our inattentiveness, that very ni'mah that we have been given, that blessing that we have been given, can now turn into a bala for us. It can turn into a great difficulty, the greatest trial, or the thing that pulls us down to the depths of hell. And there are certain actions, certain sins that a person commits that will change their ni'mah into bala. In Dua Kumail, we recite every single week, Allahumma ghfir li adh-dhunub allati tughayyiru an-ni'am. Oh Allah, forgive those sins of mine that change my ni'mah. From something that should add value to my life, something that should make me remember God, to something that will now drag me to hell. And the Quran speaks about some of these, especially children and wealth. It says these two things are a ni'mah for you, but then at another time it says it's a fitna for you. These two things that should raise you towards God, but through ghafla, through attachment to the dunya, they will drag you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's interesting, this attachment to the dunya. Just as a side note, Ayatollah Jawadi, he says that when we talk about tark dunya, it's not that we're talking about the trees and the sky and the people and the houses and this isn't the dunya. He says what dunya is when one is ghafil of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So where we talk about tark dunya, it is existing in a place where one is inattentive to their responsibilities to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, when someone stands in front of Amir al-Mu'mineen and says, just as Amir al-Mu'mineen had said himself, that, "Oh dunya, I divorce you 3 times," and this man decides to say that in front of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And you see Nahj al-Balagha, Amir al-Mu'mineen tells him off, says, "What are you talking about?" And he begins to recite the fada'il of the dunya. Says, "No, this dunya is good, this dunya helps you towards the akhirah, this dunya..." Because the dunya that takes you towards Allah is the dunya where you live in but are aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tark dunya, when you're moving away from that evil dunya, is the dunya where one is ghafil of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there are certain sins that change one's ni'mah into a bala. Their blessings become a trial for them, or ultimately the thing that takes them towards hell. And there's a very interesting narration from Imam al-Sajjad salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. It's a very lengthy tradition. Don't worry, I'm not going through all of it. But the Imam breaks down certain sins which will, for example, bring bala, or tughayyiru na'am, or tahbisu du'a. It's the narration to his companion Abu Khalid al-Kabuli. So in one portion of that, the Imam says, وَالذَّنُوبَ الَّتِي تُغَيِّرُ النَّعَمْ, the sins that will change your ni'mah into bala are a number. The Imam here lists 5. The first, al-baghi ala al-nas, to do dhulm upon the people, to oppress the people. Says this will change your ni'mah into bala. And this dhulm upon the people is not just, one nation bombing another nation. This is not just, at that level. No, dhulm upon people is on even at our base level, when we take away the rights of another person. And often when we think about haqq al-nas, we think, okay, yeah, it's, you take away the right of an orphan, or you steal from someone. No, if you go deeper into this idea of dhulm, then parking your car incorrectly, taking up 2 spaces, this is dhulm. Not parking it in the right way, blocking someone's drive, not placing your shoes on the shoe rack, for example, so that someone has to step over your shoes. This is dhulm. Not returning something back to its rightful place, taking it from where it belongs. This is the definition of dhulm. And so dhulm upon people is that one thing that will slowly change the ni'mah that you have in your life into bala. Allah gave you children that should have been the reason for your intercession. It gave you wealth that should have been because you are the custodian of that wealth, the amana of those that don't have it, those that are poor, but yet you chose to keep it for yourself. And so then that wealth changed into a bala for you because it made you a miser. Now you became so attached to it, you didn't want to let go of it ever. And so now that ni'mah has become a bala. And the first thing that does that is when one does dhulm upon another person. The second was zawalu anil adatil khair, when one leaves a good action. I had a good habit, I left it. When I was younger, I used to pray Salatul Layl regularly. But now, I don't get time. I got work, I've got kids, Before, I used to be able to attend the masjid every Thursday night without fail, and I would be there for Dua Kumail. But now, it's hard. I don't have the time. I used to give sadaqah regularly, but things financially are not going so well, so I cut off my regular sadaqah that I gave. Leaving a good habit will change your ni'mah. This is You know, when we talk about the makr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in dua Abu Hamza Thumali, we start off, Ilahi la tu'addibni bi'uqubatik wa la tamkur bi fi hilatik. Says, oh Allah, do not subject me to your plot. The makr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the plot, the plan of Allah. We have narrations that it enters into the life of a person so secretly, so quietly, like an ant walking upon a black rock at night. It creeps into the life of a person. What do I mean? I was doing dua after dua. I want to get this particular job. If you remember last night, the story of Tha'laba Ansari that we said. I wanted this particular job. I get it. But now, as a result of this job, I don't pray on time because I feel bad trying to ask these people for a place to pray, as an example. But then what happens? I get a promotion and I become even busier. And so now where before I was waking up for Fajr, maybe praying the qadha of my Dhuhr and Asr, now I work late into the night, so I miss my Fajr. And then what happens? I get a pay rise. So I start working harder. And then I get a better job. Ala Zahir, things are going great. But what's happening? That one moment of ghafla is now that same ni'mah has become a bala for me. That same thing has taken. Now I just don't get the time to attend the masjid. Maybe a Friday here and there. But other than that, it's not for me. Or I just don't have time. And like this, slowly but surely, when one turns their back on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the makr of Allah enters. So the second reason that this would enter into the life of a person, or that their ni'mah would change, is when they leave a good action, a good habit that they had. They leave it for whatever reason. The third thing that the Imam says, وَإِسْتِنَاعِ الْمَعْرُوفِ, to leave enjoining the good. To not tell people about the things that they should be doing, enjoining good, amr bil ma'roof. No, it's not my problem. Nothing to do with me. It's not my issue. And more we have got into this habit that I see something that's wrong. Even if I'm not going to oppose that which is wrong, but at least try and enjoy that which is good. But now more and more I'm like, you know what? Live and let live. It's nothing to do with me. I can't be bothered. And sometimes what we do is we then instill this into the next generation. Someone tells my child, listen, just straighten up during Salat al-Jama'ah. And my child comes to me, that uncle was rude to me, he said this. And then I go, who do you think you are to tell my kid to pray properly? Because we don't have this idea of Amr bil Ma'roof and Nahy anil Munkar anymore. Everyone, just nothing to do with me. And that's qawm, that nation that leaves that. It's a one-way journey. Because if no one's enjoining good, off our manabir, off our pulpits, off the various platforms that we have, we're not enjoining that which is haqq. We're just too afraid. We'll wishy-washy sort of say a few things and that's about it. Enjoining that which is good. When people leave that, their ni'mah will become bala for them. And it's not just And then when this dhulm is happening, or when these sins are happening, and the rest of the community is quiet. Now, it's not just that one person that is answerable for that action. It's the whole community. Someone came to the sixth Imam and said to him, Ya ibn Rasulillah, how many people were there that killed the she-camel of Salih? The Imam said one. It was one man. It says the Holy Quran says, فَعَقَرُوهَا, they killed her. Imam says, yes. Allah holds them all in contempt. Why? Because although it was one man that killed the she-camel of Salih, the rest of them stayed quiet. As if they were happy with it. وَلَعْنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً سَمِعَتْ بِذَلِكَ فَرَضِيَتْ بِهِ. They heard about it. They knew what was going on. They stayed quiet. Out of whatever reason it was. The fourth reason, وَكُفْرَانُ النَّعْمِ. Doing كُفْرَانُ النِّعْمَةِ. When I have been given something, to deny it. To think, even just, we have a hadith that when you eat an apple, only get halfway through and then you throw it away. It says this is kufranun ni'mah. This is denying the bounties of your Lord. The ni'mah that you have to, and then it gets even worse. When I begin to think that the blessings in my life are from me, are as a result of my hard work, are as a result of the long hours that I put in, are as a result of the studies that I have done, are as a result of the tazkiyatun nafs that I perform. The moment I think that, now all of my ni'mah will begin to become bala for me. The people of Sabah are a famous example of it. Even Sayyid al-Shuhada speaks about them when he's coming out of Mecca and he meets Abu Hiram. The people of Sabah were a nation in Yemen. They had 12 cities. And each of these cities was green. Their land was extremely fertile. They had a river that ran through them, irrigation channels from the river Tharthar. All of the nation was green. They had so much food, so much excess bread, wheat and everything. They got to the point where they began to wipe the backsides of their children with bread. Because they had so much. And then they would wipe it and they'd throw it onto a pile. And over the years, this pile became a hill and the hill became quite a large hill. One day, one of the awliya of Allah was walking through one of the cities and saw a woman wiping her child's backside with bread. He said, don't you fear Allah? This is a ni'mah from Allah. She turned around and said, what do we have to fear? As long as the Tharthar is there, we're fine. Allah hated her comment so much that He dried up the river, sent a drought to the people of Sabah. Drought turned to famine. In the end, all the food stores were destroyed. Now these people had to now take this feces-covered bread and ration it amongst each other to survive. Kufranun ni'mah. It changes one's ni'mah into bala. When you deny that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. And then the last thing that the Imam says, وَتَرْكُ الشُّكْرِ. The one that leaves shukr. The one that leaves thanking God for the blessings that He has. This thanks is an odd thing. Allah has given me a blessing and I thank Him for it. And He says, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. You thank me, I'll give you more. And so He's already bestowing, and this is His mercy. He's bestowing on me. But the more I thank Him, the more He bestows upon me. But we have entered into this phase that we've become thankless. Because I believe what I have in my life is because of me. Not that I'm reflecting the divine names in my actions. I genuinely believe that these degrees that I have, it's because of me. This success that I have, it's because of my hard work. These good looks that I have is because of my skincare routine or regime or whatever. I'll try and justify it. But yet, that thing that is mumkinul wujud does not manifest from itself. That being that is contingent upon the existence of the necessary existence cannot manifest anything, and thus has no right to be proud of anything in their life. Because you are merely drawing from the divine names and manifesting those divine names. The moment that silsila, that connection is cut, you cease to exist. And so these 5 things are what will change one's ni'mah into bala. Doing dhulm upon a person, leaving good actions, not enjoining the good, doing kufranu ni'mah, denying the bounties of God, and leaving shukr. 5 things that will turn the greatest blessings that we have into our lives into chains that will pull us into the depth of hell. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the tawfiq and the understanding to be able to cut off from that which will take us away from Him, inshaAllah. Through the barakah of the Holy Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Inna a'ataynaka al-kawthar, fasalli li rabbika wanhar, inna shani'aka huwal abtar. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد وصل على أمير المؤمنين وقائد الغر المهجلين علي بن أبي طالب اللهم صل على وصلي على صديقتي الطاهرة الممتهنة الصابرة فاطمة بنت محمد سيدة النساء العالمين وصلي على سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة وصلي على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والقائم الحجة المهدي اللهم عجل فرجه وسهل مخرجه وجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره المستشهدين تحت لواء الصلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه. As you all know, the second khutbah is reserved for matters of the ummah. And there's only really one main matter that is on the mind of every free-thinking human being. And that is the issue of Palestine. And what's baffled me about this whole time, this whole situation, is the silence of some. Why? One has to question why. Why is it that our organizations, why is it that our centers, why is it that our pulpits are devoid of the mention of those that are oppressed? For fear of being cancelled. Right now, even those that had no opinion have an opinion. Right now, what has happened in this last month or 6 weeks, it has shown us the value of the blood of the Muslim. from Whitehall to Parliament, the value of the blood of the Muslims has been shown. And we're afraid to talk about it. Why? When open war crimes are being committed, this isn't about the 7th of October or the 8th we're talking right now about war crimes. Those that had no opinion about this matter, those that aren't even Muslim, are raising their voices and saying what is happening to the people of Palestine are war crimes. The use of white phosphorus, the attack upon hospitals and schools, and the whole world stands silent. Every major world power clapping along to a genocide. And we? Remember the people of Nabi Saleh. Shu'aib alayhi salam is coming away from his people, and Allah is like, Shu'aib Adhab is coming. Ya Allah, they weren't all committing the sin. He says, no, but the rest of them were quiet. Why are we so quiet? We're not, when we get pulled into this rhetoric, because this is what it is, we're afraid. But calling something a war crime is not something that will get you fired or kicked out. It's very blatant for the whole world to see. Children and women being killed indiscriminately. And the audacity of some multinational companies, fashion brands, so very openly mocking. It tells you now what the value of the Muslim blood is, the life of a Muslim. What is it worth? If I didn't know up until this point. And then we have those that wish to toe the line of that establishment, that would not have you speak out for what is haqq. When your Imam is the one that said that we stand against every oppressor and we oppose and we support every oppressed person. Ali didn't say we only support the oppressed Shias. So no, وَلِلْمَظْلُومِ عَوْنًا. Every single person that is oppressed around the world, be it in Sudan, be it in the Congo, be it in Palestine, we support them. The right. When we give statements, it's all wishy-washy, yeah, this is. Call out the war crimes. There's no crime in that. But where has our ghayrat gone? Where is our ghayra? Ali alayhi salam is that person. He says, I heard that in Nahrawan, they stole the anklet of a woman. These Khawarij. They stole the anklet of a woman. He says, if anyone was to hear of this woman's anklet being stolen and died, I would not blame him. Because that is the sign of ghayrah. But our ghayrah has died. Maybe out of fear, or maybe out of the checks that we are getting paid. Or just maybe out of jahl, whatever it may be. But our marajih have made it very clear what our stance is. From 1936 until now, someone made a video recently of all the marajih and the fatawi of the marajih. And some even have the audacity to say, oh, the marajih haven't said anything, so we should stay quiet about it as well. When there's a huge picture of Sayyid Sistani hanging from the haram of Al-Abbas with his fatwa about the boycott. Our ghayrah has died. We need to do everything that we can to raise a voice for the oppressed. Even if at the very least it's a dua for them. But we have much more freedom than that. We have much more freedom than that. And there are ways that a person needs to raise their voice for this cause. But that way does not involve kissing the hands of those or rubbing shoulders with those who are in support of this genocide. How can you even sit at that table? That's what it means to have lost all ghayrah. How will we show our faces to the Imam of our time? That we think that our silence is something that is good. It is something that is admirable. Something that is diplomatic even. In matters of oppression and the oppressed. It's not a matter of diplomacy. It's a matter of haqq and batil. The last thing that Sayyid al-Shuhada says to the fourth Imam as his wasi, he says, and my son, be wary, never do dhulm on that individual that has no one to call out to except Allah. The of the one that has no one reaches the arsh of Allah. Let it not be the case where on Yawm al-Qiyamah those that were buried their daughters alive will be called up and that child will ask, بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ, for what reason was I killed? Let it not be the case that I'm also dragged up and one of these innocent children asks, بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ, why were you silent? You could have raised your voice, but you didn't. Why? We have a responsibility. And that responsibility is to make some noise, to raise a voice. Not to bow down and accept whatever oppression there is. No, there are ways to do it. To make your voice heard. Not to worry about licenses, and that's a valid thing. Everybody's got to worry about professional memberships and licenses and things, yeah. But there are ways to say something when you're talking about a genocide that is unfolding, innocent children being killed. Who's going to revoke your membership or your license for that? It's very plain for the world to see what is happening. Let's raise our voices for them. They have no one but Allah. Let us not become amongst those that heard and didn't say anything. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to relieve the suffering of the people of Palestine. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give every oppressed person around the world victory over their oppressor. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He hastens the reappearance of the Imam of our time. And He allows us to be amongst His true muntadhirin, His true awaiters, through the barakah of the Holy Quran. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad, wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad. استغفر الله ربي واتوب اليه. الله اكبر الله اكبر. اشهد ان لا اله الا الله. اشهد ان لا اله الا الله. اشهد ان محمدا رسول الله. اشهد ان محمدا رسول الله. اشهد ان عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليا وفاطمة وأبناؤهم المعصومين بالحق حجج الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه من كل ذنب. يا محسن قد أتاك المسيء. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. إلهي هب لي كمال الانقطاع إليك وانر أبصار قلوبنا بضياء نظرها إليك. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته قوموا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله ربي. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهلا وتذل بها النفاق وأهلا وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا من له الدنيا والآخرة ارحم من ليس له الدنيا والآخرة يا كريم. الله أكبر. الحمد لله كما هو أهله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا إله إلا الله إلها واحدا ونحن له مسلمون. لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره المشركون. لا إله إلا الله ربنا ورب آبائنا الأولين. لا إله إلا الله وحده أنجز وحده ونصر عبدا وعز جندا وعزم الأحزاب وحده. فله الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت ويحيي وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير.
بر محمد وآل محمد salawat. We have received sad news from Orlando. Marhum Onali Abdurasul Molu Chattu, father of Salim Chattu, who passed away in Orlando today. And please recite Surah Fatiha for the Marhum and all Marhumin. Al-Fatiha.
استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا وفاطمة وأبناؤهم المعصومين بالحق حجج الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. Mu'mineen, my salah is qasr. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه من كل ذنب. يا محسن قد أتاك المسيء وقد أمرت المحسن أن يتجاوز عن المسيء. أنت المحسن وأنا المسيء، فتجاوز عن قبيح ما عندي بجميل ما عندك يا كريم. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. إلهي كفى بي عزا أن أكون لك عبدا، وكفى بي فخرا أن تكون لي ربا. أنت كما أحب فجعلني كما تحب. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. الله أكبر. الحمد لله كما هو أهله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليكم. السلام علينا وعلى السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Muhammad wa ala Muhammad Salawat. There's one car is blocking YL15YWF BMW. It's in ladies car park. Can you please remove it immediately?
Assalamu alaikum. Namaz janaza for marhuma namaz janaza of marhuma Gulnaz Mustafa Nasser has already taken place. Burial will be at Woodcock Hill Cemetery. Departure, hearse is leaving at 1 o'clock. Ahsan.
Muhammad wa ala Muhammad Salawat. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. بحق فاطمة زهرا. अपना माजे भाइयों बहनों बच्चाओं बीमार होए अपने दुआ करे कि अल्लाह लोग का बद्दाए ने शफा दे बद्दाए ने तकलीफ़ों दूर थाए अपना आलिमो मर्जा मोमिनीन ने मोमिनात दुनिया में जहाँ भी होए या अल्लाह तो अलका हिफ्ज़ व अमान मारक हमारी बदी हाजतों पूरी कर हमारा इल्म वदाड़ू कर एवी दुआ साथ આપણે બધા સાથે પાંચ ફેરે અમ્મા યુજીબ પડીએ औज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम अम्मा युजीबुल मुस्तार्रा इज़ा दअ अम्मा युजीबुल मुस्तार्रा इज़ा दअ व यक्शिफुस सू أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ سورة فاتحة شفاء المرضى ودفع البلاء.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الأول قبل الإنشاء والإحياء والآخر بعد فناء الأشياء العليم الذي لا ينسى من ذكر ولا ينقص من شكر ولا يخيب من دعا ولا يقطع رجاء من رجا اللهم إني أشهدك وكفى بك شهيدا وأشهد جميع ملائكتك والسكان سماواتك وحملة عرشك ومن بعثت من أنبيائك ورسلك وأنشأت من أصناف خلقك أني أشهد أنك أنت الله لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك ولا عدل ولا خلف لقولك ولا تبديل وأن محمدا صلى الله عليه وآله عبدك ورسولك أدى ما حملته إلى العباد وجاهد في الله عز وجل حق الجهاد وأنه بشر بما هو حق من الثواب وأنذر بما هو صدق من العقاب اللهم ثبتني على دينك ما حييتني ولا تزغ قلبي بعد إذ هديتني وهب لي من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب صل على محمد وآل محمد واجعلني من أتباع وشيعته واحشرني في زمرته ووفقني لأداء فرض الجمعات وما أوجبت علي فيها من الطاعات وقسمت لي عليها من العطاء في يوم الجزاء إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا حسين الشهيد بكربلاء، السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين زين العابدين، السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الباقر من النبيين، السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد الصادق، السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر الكاظم، السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى يرضى، السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي التقي الجواد، السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد الهادي النكي، السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي الزكي العسكري، السلام عليك يا حجة الله في أرضه، السلام عليك يا عين الله في خلقه، السلام عليك يا نور الله الذي يهتدي به المهتدون ويفرج به عن المؤمنين، السلام عليك أيها المهذب الخائف، السلام عليك يا أيها الولي الناصح، السلام عليك يا سفينة النجاة، السلام عليك يا عين الحياة، السلام عليك صلى الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك الطيبين الطاهرين، السلام عليك عجل الله لك ما وعدك من النصر وظهور الأمر، السلام عليك يا مولاي أنا مولاك عارف بأولاك وأخراك تقرب إلى الله تعالى بك وبآل بيتك وأنتظر ظهورك وظهور الحق على يديك، وأسأل الله يصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن يجعلني من المنتظرين لك والتابعين والناصرين لك على أعدائك والمستشهدين بين يديك في جملة أوليائك، يا مولاي يا صاحب الزمان صلوات الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك. هذا يوم الجمعة وهو يومك المتوقع في ظهورك، فالفرج فيه للمؤمنين على يديك وقتل الكافرين بسيفك، وأنا يا مولاي في ضيفك وجارك، وأنت يا مولاي كريم من أولاد الكرام ومأمور بالضيافة والإجارة، فأضفني وأجرني صلوات الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك الطيبين الطاهرين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ولدلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.